So America, ask yourself this question. I asked this doctor, he's my chiropractor, he's still a doctor technically, right? So I go ahead and ask him, if you had never heard or seen Dr. Fauci, say you go into a supermarket and you see Dr. Fauci there just grabbing groceries, I asked my chiropractor, I said to him, what would you think of him? And he said, well, you'll probably think that he's a stand-up American. He's doing everything that he's supposed to do. You know, he looks very stand-up with a little tie. But it's not the way you dress that makes you a good person. One of the lessons that I learned this year is not how you look that makes you a good person. I already knew that. I don't know why I said I just learned that. If we haven't learned anything from this year, the things that have happened this year, is that my point to my chiropractor was this. You would have probably thought that Dr. Fauci, if you've never heard of him, you never thought you probably thought that he was a nice guy, right? You probably think that he was a nice guy. He's a decent stand-up American. But look at what he's doing behind closed doors. Gain of function research. Most Americans talk about communism and socialism, how it's so bad and this and that. But how do you justify Dr. Fauci, a man who lives in America? I think he's an American, I don't know. How do you justify this man who has all this education, grabbing viruses, gain of function, meaning grabs a virus and makes it more stronger to infect the population so it's more effective, meaning it exterminates more people? How do you... That's a wake-up call. Your neighbor might look like a good person. Doesn't make him a good person. I've known this all along. And people, women, especially women are suckers for this. A man has a tie, he's got his family, he's got his kids, and they automatically think he's a good person. Women fall for this shit all the fucking time. So it's not the level of education. It's whether your heart is in the right place, whether you're a person that has morals. What is your moral worth? Because a lot of motherfuckers are sold out in America. What are you worth? What are your ideals worth? I'll tell you, thanks guys for tuning in. You know, the older I get, the more I start to realize how crazy this world is. When you're younger, you think that the world is, you see the police officers and you think, wow, there's so much order and there's so much order. You think that the world's an orderly place. But when you get to my age, you start to understand that the world's it's a fuck show. There's no order. It's an illusion. There's an illusion of order. But really, everyone's hanging on by a thread, paycheck to paycheck. So I don't do these videos because I have hope of becoming famous. I do these videos because I want to talk to people, because I want to share things. That's why I do these things. And so I asked my chiropractor, how do you justify that? How do you justify that here's this elderly man who looks like a stand-up American grabbing your fucking tax dollars to fund. So America gave money to the Communist Chinese Party so that they can in turn, I don't know where it was willing for, but you know what? The situation stands, as it stands right now, there is no trust. There's no trust of your local officials. There's no trust in your president. There is no trust in the WHO. There's no fucking trust in the CDC. There's no trust for nobody. You form your own fucking opinion. And you decide what you want to do. So then what happens when we're all full of distrust? I think nothing good's gonna come of that. So how do you justify it? I tell my chiropractor, I said, well, he said, well, you know, there's evil lives in the heart of men. And it is true. I just don't like how in society there are so many people who think because you dress nice, because you don't use profanity, because you have a wife, because you have kids, because you're taking care of business like you're supposed to, that you're a stand-up human being. Let me tell you something. I'm bald. You see that? Under this, I'm bald. Okay. If I run up to somebody the way that I'm dressed, they would probably be very nervous. They'd probably think that I was some type of thug or something. Now, if I had a tie and a fucking suit with, like, people see my Cadillac keys juggling, people will be more up more forth. They wouldn't distrust me the way that they would distrust the way that I look. So, you motherfuckers who are woke know that it's not how you look that makes a person good or bad. It's where your heart